Hey guys, Trevor with Shadow Systems, Technical Tuesday. We're out at the range today, and we're with Quinn Cunningham, one of our competitive shooters, and we're going to experiment with some of the older techniques. And so this video might open your eyes to how people used to shoot, and it will also maybe help you understand the modern technique a little better and why it is the way it is, okay? So we're going to go back all the way to the early days of handguns when people would shoot with one hand, and we're going to use the kind of single-handed bullseye stance that people used around the kind of World War I time frame all the way into World War II. Then we'll talk about how people started using two hands and what that looked like all the way up to the modern technique. And we might stop along the way with what I call the new shooter stance, which is probably the one to avoid. So I think up first is going to be the one-hand bullseye stance, and we're going to shoot at that target right there. We'll do everything on a clock with the draw. Do you have a clock?
Nope.
We're going to get a clock. Stand by. Okay, I've never done this before. We got the clock. We're going to do the bullseye stance with the draw. 2 rounds on the steel, and then we'll kind of just grade the accuracy, fair, poor, whatever. Okay? Here we go. Wow, it's weird to do this and then do that.
Yeah.
Should I start like this and then turn? No,
yeah.
I'm going to do it like this.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
Ah, God, that's weird. All right, well, I had to take an extra pickup to try to get my hit.
404.
Can we do that one more time?
Yeah, we can do that again.
404, terrible accuracy. Let's try one more time.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
All right, I was a little better that
214.
time. 214.
214.
214, and I'm okay centered. All right, let's see what you can do. That, by the way, folks, in case you're curious here, I'll show you really quick. So that is a CR Foundation pistol. This is our newest version of the Foundation, or I should say the version of the CR, and it is an optic cut gun. People sometimes wonder that. Okay, here we go. We're gonna now shoot Quinn. He's got the race gear, and he's got our DR920L.
This is crazy.
With an optic. I know, isn't it weird?
Okay.
All right, stand by. 198 with a pickup.
One more.
Stand by.
Ah!
261.
I can't cuss.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. All right, we're gonna paint those up, and we're gonna then move into some of the early two-handed stances. Okay, so we just painted, and we saw pretty poor accuracy with the one-handed stance. Yeah. Now, one of the things about the one-handed stance that was really important at the time was the idea was you were making yourself a smaller target. In addition to the fact that they didn't know what to do with this hand, they were also really locked into this idea of making yourself a smaller target for the person shooting back. So that same mentality was part of what then came next when we got into two-handed stances, commonly called the Weaver stance. Okay? So a Weaver stance is characterized by kind of two things. One is you're mostly bladed to the target, okay? So this time on the non-firing side, you're mostly bladed to the target. And then the other thing was this tension, this push-pull technique.
Push-pull.
Yep. So you're pushing the gun forward and you're pulling it back. And the belief there was that it would help you control recoil, that tension in the stance. People shot this way for a long time. I think it really got popular kind of in the 70s into the 80s, and then we started to see variations of that happen. So the Weaver stance, I get it. You do have a smaller target. Maybe this tension thing works to control recoil, although some people would say that the tension is never consistent. Sometimes you're scared and sometimes you're relaxed, and that makes a difference. And also, it's a little hard to get up and down and move in the Weaver stance. So that's one of the, I guess, the downsides. All right, CR Foundation again on the steel. It's the weird draw that I'm struggling with. It feels like, I don't know if I should start. I'm going to start facing the target because I guess that's what you would do. All right, Here we go.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. 217.
217. Okay, and I mean the hits were okay. They were close together at least. I actually kind of like this tension thing.
Do you?
I don't know. I kind of like it.
There's something interesting I want to talk about with the recoil impulse.
Okay, I'm ready. All right, here we can do one more. All right, Weaver stance.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
I mean, I think I'm more bladed than I should be. I'm sure there's Weaver stance purists right now who are flipping over in their grave. Right. But it is. I kind of felt strong, dude. Did I look strong?
Well, look at the hits.
I mean, they're not great.
Well, they're going right. Correct?
Yeah.
The reason they're going right is because the recoil is going to take the path of least resistance which is this direction. So you are fighting the gun to return it
That actually is true. I did
to your
feel
natural
that.
point of aim.
I did feel that. All right, so we got fair accuracy, probably better. All right,
Okay.
let's see you shoot it. All right, Weaver
Now,
stance.
when I was a baby cop, this is how I learned. They're still teaching this in the 2000s.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so 198 and 215 or something like that.
Yeah.
You called it out. Okay, so we're about the same 2 seconds. Okay, all right, let's see it. All right, stand by. But see, you're not, I feel like you're still pretty modified. Were you do it again really bladed. Yeah, give me some blade.
You're going to be fighting vampires here in a
143.
second.
143. All right, but the accuracy, again, they're close together though. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it helps you keep the shots close together, but
okay.
All right, let's try it.
This is weird.
Here we go. Stand by. Well, you kind of drifted there, but
Yeah.
it was fast. 168. Do you have any more ammo? Here, shoot it one more time. That wasn't a good read on the technique.
All right.
All right, ready?
Well, is this?
You're supposed to be all, I mean, it's 45, I think. Or maybe it's, well, now maybe we don't know what we're doing. All right, stand by. Okay, those were good hits, 146. Those were really nicely centered. Let's paint that up and get out of the weird zone where we actually don't know what we're doing and get to the good stuff. Okay, we just finished Weaver stance, we're painted. Now we're gonna do the isosceles stance. So at a certain point, I think mostly in the competitive shooting world, people started to say, look, that's not a very mobile stance. It's kind of hard to get in and out of. So let's try to do something that's more neutral, right?
The static competitive shooting world. That's where this came from.
The isosceles one? Mm-hmm. Okay. But then you had guys like Brian Enos and Rob Latham that were doing this in the 80s.
Because that's what the technique evolved to, and they hadn't found their natural point of aim and figured that part out yet.
Okay, that makes sense. In any event, the biggest difference is we're now pretty square to the target, our knees are slightly bent, and we're very neutral. I've got an isosceles triangle here, I've got an isosceles triangle here, and the whole idea was actually to kind of eliminate all this tension that had been in the stance before,
right,
and replace it with just balance to control recoil. And the idea also was you could like run really fast and get in behind stuff. You weren't, you wouldn't run up to a barrier and then try to turn or whatever. You could just get in and out. So I'm gonna shoot pure isosceles. Your toes are not going, they're in the same plane like that, right?
All right.
Okay, here we go.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. 202.
I definitely felt like I had more control on where the shots were going. I didn't feel as like, I just felt like I could get on the target, and maybe it's the pulling off thing you mentioned.
How was stability?
It was fine. I mean, I always feel like I'm going to rock back onto my heels if I shoot isosceles.
Right. I think your toes, you've kind of flexed your feet a little bit, which tells me that
you're
going back.
That's the problem. I'm going to try to lean forward a little more. Okay, here we go.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
Oh, man.
213.
Yeah, so I'm right in the same 2-second range kind of all the time. Hits are way better, though.
Yeah.
Hits are way better. All right, here we go. 213. Stand by. Nice split, 136. That looked a lot better.
I'm getting closer to my sweet spot.
Yeah, you're getting closer to your stance. Stand by. Nice hits. Again, 129, very consistent. Okay. All right, so now we're getting closer to this modern technique. But I want to take a little detour here. And I want to show the new shooter stance, which I think is a variation of isosceles. So this is something that we've talked about a little before, and I just wanted to share it again. So for new shooters, it's very common to end up in kind of an isosceles stance. That's kind of where they'll start, but they'll usually be nervous about the recoil. So one thing to watch if you're with somebody who's new, or if you yourself are a new shooter, is just make sure that you're not starting to get like into this kind of lean back stance. Okay, so I'm going to shoot it that way.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
They were all over the place.
218.
218. I mean, it's the same two every time. I must not be pushing myself.
Yeah,
So let's see the new shooter stance, Quinn. You can do this. You've got to really lean back.
I tell people all the time to stick their butts out, because they just,
Yeah.
especially when they get tired. When they get tired.
Exactly. Especially if they have armor on too.
Oh.
All right, here we go.
Is this how I start?
Now you start with the gun,
Okay.
because they'll usually start at the indoor range normal, and then they'll just lean back through the mag. So you got to start normal, and then you got to lean back once the shooting starts. Just to be clear, this is not a preferred stance.
No.
Stand by. That was good. How was your recoil control?
It was horrible. I stacked the rounds, but what was the time?
176.
Okay.
You're like almost at my speed now.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. Lastly, we have the true, oh, we got to paint. Let's paint. We'll be right back. Right, now we are at the modified stance, which I guess modified isosceles would be its full name. Right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the characteristics of this stance. Let's talk through it a little more.
So with this stance, typically for the right-handed shooter, you're going to put your right foot back just a little bit. Drive your hip towards the target. This is not really I have to put my foot here and I have to put my foot here. It's really based on your natural point of aim and how to you find your natural point of aim. So to demonstrate, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to draw, open my eyes, and left and right is how I'm going to adjust my hips and my feet to find that natural point of aim. That works for you because everybody's different. Some people might be more comfortable with the weaver. Some people might be more comfortable with a straight isosceles. But typically, people end up with their strong side foot back just a little bit.
Yeah. The other advantage of it too, to that arrangement is, in the isosceles, we were able to get our weight forward a little bit to control recoil, but you're not as stable from the front to the rear.
Right.
Whereas if you step forward a little bit with that leg or pull this one back, you end up being able to place about 60% of your weight on your lead leg or more of your weight, and you can keep your weight forward more easily. And you had said this earlier about pulling your butt back. A lot of times people will think about leaning forward, and it's actually easier to think about pulling your butt back.
It lowers your center of gravity.
Yeah, lowers your center of gravity. All right, so I'm going to try that one, and we'll see how we do on our plate.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. 164, good hits.
164 with sick hits. I like that. All right, let's do it again.
Stand by. 153.
And look at the hits compared to before, like huge difference
Yeah.
for me. Obviously that's what I'm comfortable with. And I picked up like a half a second too, it looks like. All right, are you ready? Stand by. 123, very nice. Definitely your fastest time. Stand by. 122, you're very consistent. So yes, huge difference on performance with that stance. Obviously some of it is what we're used to, but it is now what's taught most places. Experiment, play around, you might discover you're a weaver guy, but...
One real quick thing.
Okay.
A lot of the problems we see with shooters is anticipation, right?
Yes, true.
A pre-ignition push. I really believe that a lot of it comes into grip, but stance as well. So if Trevor walks out here and you do the first technique with your, so you feel a little bit of recoil,
Yeah.
right? Okay, now do the second technique.
We did the weaver.
Okay.
It's pretty...
Now if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but this shoulder is leading back a little bit. When you have inconsistencies in your body mechanics, that's going to cause a little bit of a sympathetic reaction to the recoil impulse. Now go ahead and just do the modified, your normal shooting stance. Whoa. Okay. So he's managing recoil effectively. Everything is going into his shoulders and he's absorbing it, which is going to cause less of an anticipation response.
So you're actually saying that your stance will help you reduce flinch.
Yes.
I've never thought about that before. All right, you heard it here first. Your stance helps you reduce flinch. Thanks so much for watching. It's fun. Try the different techniques. Try shooting the bullseye stance. You'll discover it's not as easy as it looks. And we'll see you next Tuesday.